I just watched an odd found footage tape shot near my hometown. Written by Moondog151, aka Zarya Moonwolf, and read from r/Nosleep. Note: due to this being a translated work, some minor punctuation and grammar changes have been made during the recording. These are solely to help the story flow, with all intent of preserving the integrity of the original post. The original writing is available in both the captions and in the link provided below. Before I start, let me say a few things. Number 1. I do not speak English. I live in Ukraine, and a friend of mine translated this for me, and even then he's still studying. Number 2. Before you ask, no, I will not be telling you the names of websites, at least their native name anyways. Nor will I tell you any identities. The police so far either don't know or won't say anyways. The story. I'm going to make what I have to say here quick. Not because my life is in danger. Well, maybe. But because there's not a whole lot to say, and I'm not here to waste your time. My childhood nor my family's lives matter here. I live in a small town in northern Ukraine called Sarny, close to the Belarusian border. Growing up, I've always been interested in film. More specifically, found footage style of films, real or fictional. Which means I've taken quite a liking to horror, as most found footage films are in that genre. And it's been that way ever since a friend of mine lent me a pirated copy of the Blair Witch he bought from someone in Russia. A downside, though, is I'm left with watching subtitled versions of English films, or, as my country does frequently, voiceovers. Anyway, before I tell you all about what you clicked on this story for, no, I did not find this off some obscure deep website. You'd be surprised with how much you can get away with up here on the surface. I found it on a website where Russians, Belarusians, and Ukrainians would share old videos from the Soviet days. And they ranged from stuff such as home videos, news broadcasts, old Soviet TV shows and movies, and of course propaganda. Basically, if YouTube was around during the USSR, this is what it would look like. So the video in question was just titled Opening in Russian. So I clicked on the video, and it started with a group of people, about 4 people, plus the cameraman, driving down an old dirt road at pitch black, and the timestamp was dated 1978. To my surprise, the people in the vehicle were actually conversing in Ukrainian. It wasn't just that, though. Rather, what they were talking about. They seemed to be discussing some criminal act. It was a bit glitched, even if the video was fine. Can't believe they still haven't found the bodies. Don't worry. It's not like the authorities here are competent. You should let me take out the next one. You think in a small town like Sarny, someone would have noticed. That, of course, caught my attention, and piqued my curiosity at the thought that I was watching a recording by a group of serial killers that happened to be operating in my hometown. I found myself agreeing with what the last guy said. Why haven't I heard about these bodies? I mean, it sounds like they've done this before. After that, though, they began to talk about their personal lives, so I started to lose interest. After repeatedly tapping the right key to skip forward, I finally stopped when something interesting happened. The camera focused on a man with his hands in his jacket pockets, walking down the road, and the car slowly came to a stop after the man in the passenger seat handed someone in the back a tire iron. Both the man wielding the tire iron and the cameraman got out of the car, and the one with the tire iron ran up to the other man and hit him on the back of the head with it, using all of his might. The sound of the blow is as disgusting as you would think it would be. He then, of course, fell down, blood pooling around his face. And with that, the killer and the cameraman quickly rushed back into the car and then drove off. I, like most people would be, was sickened by this, thinking to myself, great, it's the Dnipropetrovsk maniacs nearly 40 years ago. I strongly recommend you don't watch that video. I was about to change the video, but then something else happened. The killers stumbled upon another person walking down the road. 2 people in this isolated area at once. Luck's really on our side today. That man looks very similar to who we just whacked. Probably just a coincidence. Now don't let him get too far. With that, they stopped and repeated what happened with the last man. Except for one detail. When the killer swung the tire iron, it broke in 2 upon impact with his skull, without so much as a flinch from the victim. No visible damage could be seen, so it's not as if he was on pain-numbing drugs or anything like that. His intended victim then slowly turned around, and I had to pause to make sure I was seeing correctly. But sure enough, it was the man they had just killed only a few minutes ago. Every detail was identical. After clicking resume, the man's lips then curl up into a smirk before the video ends. No credits, no screams of horror. It just stops right there. My disgust then turned into curiosity, and then excitement upon remembering the title. Opening. As in opening scene, maybe. This is almost 20 years before Blair Witch. If this is indeed a lost film from the Soviet times, then not only is the first found footage horror film not what we all thought it was, but it was also shot in my country, in my language, and in my town. No wonder this was lost. Soviet authorities never would have allowed this to be released solely because of the language it's in. All the comments were full of Russians asking what the film is called or where the uploader found it, or asking the Ukrainian to be translated into Russian. He, however, to my disappointment, never answered the first 2. Now, if it wasn't for a discovery that happened the next day, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. But, after that, when I was driving home from work, I had several police cars and an ambulance cross me. And, out of curiosity, I followed one of them. They stopped at an entrance to a dirt road that looked nearly identical to the one featured in the video, and the crime scene was already being set up, with several forensic workers and police officers searching the nearby woods. I continued on my way, deciding to look into what's happening in a few hours. Due to the isolated area, I was probably one of the first civilians to stumble across the scene. Anyway, before I went to sleep, I got on my laptop. I was still on the video. Only, it was different. There was a description now. It was simply a link, and that link led to a news site leading to some newspaper based out of Kiev, with a title called Sarnie Police Discover Human Skeletons in an Isolated Part of the Woods. The article barely gave any information, but it had a link leading to a local newspaper discussing it. The police weren't revealing much, but they have said that they have found 7 human skeletons dating back to the 1970s. 6 are male, and 1 is female. And they have told the press that they believe foul play is involved due to the head wounds found on the skulls. And, well, this is what unnerves me. They also recovered what they believe to be the murder weapon. They recovered a broken tire iron with dried blood on it next to an old handheld camera. The contents of the footage has not been revealed. They also found an old rusted car in a ditch on the same road the video was recorded in. Due to the age of the corpses and the car, the police believe it could be connected in some way, and they also admit that the car did not end up in the ditch accidentally. I just stayed frozen, refreshing the article and rereading it several times in disbelief. This can't be a coincidence. What they stumbled upon had to be what I saw on that old tape recording in the 70s. And if that's true, then what was that person, if it was even a human, at the end of the video? No ordinary human would be able to just shrug off a blow like that. And not only that, but as mentioned above, he was identical to one of the people they killed. Unless they are twins, something seriously wrong is going on here. I'm not sure what happened to the people in the video, but as the old saying goes, ignorance is bliss.